Welcome, everyone, to our podcast. Today, we're sitting with partners in school nutrition, diving into actionable inspiration to provide you not only ideas, but strategies for success. I'm your host, Maureen Pasonic, and I'm thrilled to explore this topic with you and with some of our school nutrition friends. Hello, we're excited to be welcoming Ali Guzik today from Feed Our Future to talk about her local work in Farm to School and its involving an important role both in our hearts and on the menus we help write in schools. Ali is the program manager for Cuyahoga County Board of Health and leads efforts for Feed Our Future, which is a nonprofit that helps inspire young minds to make mindful choices about what they eat by connecting schools, homes, and communities with resources on food sourcing, eating, and promoting local foods. That's a lot of work. She does a lot of work over there. Welcome, Ali. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having us. I'm super excited to have this conversation today.
Near and dear to my heart. You know, the little disclaimer, I am a board member of Feed Our Future. Ali, Allison, Patrick, and I, long time ago, were on a folding table looking at like ways in an office that we can help schools connect to local food. So this has been a passion project for me, Maureen Pasonic, and then it fell into our mission, which is wholesome meals, fueling healthy lives, and what role local foods have in that is huge. Yeah. So we're going to get right into the dirty part of this, though. I know it's hard because I think as people listen today, there is a struggle just to understand with funding, right? So we love, to have an investment in local, and despite funding cuts at the federal level, I'm so inspired by Feed Our Future and what we continue to fight for as our little soldiers in schools are going to be putting out their produce bars and doing their local tasting days. Tell us a little bit about now and the upcoming year and what role Feed Our Future plays in helping schools really achieve that goal.
Yeah. So, I mean, with all the federal funding cuts, we acknowledge that this is definitely a time of uncertainty for school meals and other federally funded projects. Being a health department, we have those kind of uncertainties as well. But I will say that Feed Our Future does have sustainable and solid funding to continue on through this next school year. So super thankful for that. So our continued efforts of local food procurement, our Totally Tasty events, and also working with farmers and local food producers to create farm to school readiness plans, will be able to continue on into the next school year. So we're super thankful for that. Some of the other, big things that Feed Our Future and our partners will be continuing on is our farm to school bid. So that's still happening and available to school districts to purchase local and non-local produce throughout the whole school year. So we have awarded distributors and even direct farmer partnerships that schools can cultivate through the farm to school bid to continuing purchasing local all year round. And some of the distributors we work with also have non-local products to kind of fill your whole order out. Another thing that we like to bring up is sometimes with local and funding cuts, there's some misconceptions with pricing. And we know through our market basket with you all and OSC, we have tried to myth bust that by comparing different distributors and different folks to compare pricing. And I think that hopefully is really helpful to visualize like the differences, and that local isn't always more expensive, and a lot of times it's not the more expensive option.
I love that. I love a couple of things that you brought up just to make sure everybody knows. So Ohio School Council is a local group purchasing organization that helps our team at Feed Our Future curate a bid, which usually most schools, the barrier to entry is, oh my gosh, I have to write my own RFP, and what is it, 3 bids and a buy? Is it formal? Is it informal? So I love that the primary foundational work is not only to think creatively about access for farmers to get their local produce into schools. It's how to make it easy for schools as a turnkey approach. And so the bid process, the bid work that Feed Our Future works in tandem with Ohio School Councils really does take the problem that barrier. Let's start taking away some of the barriers. That's one that I love. The second thing you brought up that I love is just myth busting, right? So local foods are safe. They're they're oftentimes, you're doing a lot of work to help farmers learn about things like GAP and other types of farming and agricultural practices that can help ensure that their safe growing practices translate to safe food into the schools. So that was another thing when I started way back when is it safe? Is it clean? How do we have to wash it? Like all of those things. I will also give a lot of credit to the team at Feed Our Future for being proactive thinkers. Funding is always, it ebbs and flows in schools. We saw a surplus of monies a couple years back during the COVID, and that went away. And so there's just been a lot of changes, but helping schools navigate those changes with turnkey resources, I think, is a great commitment to the funds. And the funds come from USDA farm to school grants, correct?
Yes. So the current, we're funded under a couple different grants currently. The Regional Food Systems Partnership Grant, which is through the Agriculture Marketing Services. We also are funded under the 2024 USDA Patrick Leahy Grant. So we're super thankful for that. And then we also have some work with the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce to expand the Harvest of the Month program. So there's a few different funding streams there and future ones that we're kind of still waiting to hear back on. But like you said, just super thankful to have that and have that funding available to us to continue on this work. So,
and you also brought up the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce. We are very fortunate in our state to have a local manager for that program, Rebecca Knabb, who has really jumped right in. And as you said, Harvest of the Month is one of the focused recipes that we've helped develop as a partner in the grant process. But what is the one tool you find most helpful for schools to start? So we know that there are schools that have been in this pipeline and have developed their produce bars and their local offerings. Talk a little bit first about somebody that has never done this and they might want to try it, right, coming up.
Yeah, so I personally think that connection is the number one tool. Maybe it's not necessarily a tangible resource, but it can be. But connecting to schools and other community partners that have already started this work and that have a little bit of experience with it, I think is a really great way to kind of get your foot in the door, maybe, and to understand, where you could potentially start to get into the farm to school market. Every school will be different, capacity levels and infrastructure, obviously play a role in that. But I think being able to connect to like-minded folks to get started is a really helpful first step into this space. I know that Feed Our Future specifically has a lot of great resources. Our professional development tool that we've created together, our two tools that we've created together, our Launching Local Farm to School Guide is a great first step into kind of getting acclimated with farm to school and the regional efforts that are happening now, and increasing scratch cooking and food waste and all the fun things that go into eating more local foods. And then our newly released tool that we've created in partnership with Pasonic is our Harvest Bar tool. So we've created a fun twist on produce bars and kind of named them Harvest Bars because we feature a Harvest of the Month item for each of the different concepts. So I think that those two tools are also really great resources and opportunities to kind of get your foot in the door and get started with farm to school.
I love that. So most people think, okay, so now we've said it's not more expensive. It is safe. You have a bid that will help you learn how to order it. And by the way, here are some tools and resources to make it happen, right? To make it land in your school nutrition program, to document it. So one of the things we talk about in tandem and the great support with ODEW is that it's compliant. Folks don't say, I don't want to not be compliant. I don't want to have a menu that's not compliant. One of the things I love about the toolkits we have if folks are worried about the upcoming school year, there are two things on the horizon. One is obviously a focus on whole foods and reduced sugars in breakfast and beyond. We know that there have been some changes in the way that manufacturers are being cautious about dyes and ultra processing. And there's also a new clause coming out by American, where school nutrition programs are going to have to limit their spending to 10% or less for non-domestic food items. And so one of the things I love about the work of Feed Our Future, it already kind of creates this turnkey opportunity to be compliant with Buy American, which is like on everybody's to-do list. Like, how am I going to do that?
Local, like our specific definition of local is 150 miles outside of Cuyahoga County or within the state of Ohio. So with just those two. So that the vendors on our bid are going to adhere to that definition of local. So it kind of gives that insurance and reassurance that, it fits within the Buy American provisions. So.
And I would imagine the team at OSC and Feed Our Future are already thinking ahead of, okay, if schools are going to be needing to see what their purchasing history is and where the foods are coming from, talk a little bit about how Feed Our Future has really led the efforts for that traceability factor, like all the way back to where it was planted and grown regionally. We know that information for the schools that are into this process with us.
Yeah. So it is important to track and know where the food is coming from. So that's definitely something that we know and can share. So we have our local purchasing report, which I really like to share. And it just really shows the effort of the school districts and the producers and everybody else doing this work of the local purchasing and gives all the data. So it comes out every October to celebrate Farm to School Month. And we share the data of the items that were purchased, the weight of the food that was purchased, the vendors or the farmers that food was purchased from, and the schools. So it's an entire report that we release to really show the impact of what has happened the year before. And newly this year, we added even some statistics of like how much local revenue has grown and how many new producers entered the school supply chain. So we can really look at that data and understand, where we were a year ago to now. And it's just really great to be able to see that.
I love that. I love that. So I also love that it gives the schools a ready-made report card of their own, right? So I think one of the things with school nutrition is we are our own best kept secrets most of the time. And so maybe the board opportunity arises and you're able to get in front of your community or your Board of Education, or better yet, develop your own food service website or your own social media. And then you can say loud and proud, I'm a part of this local purchasing movement. Yeah. So you have an aggregate amount of what the impact is in our region, but each school gets their own little report card.
Yeah. So you would get the full report comes exactly with all the information and then an individual, like you said, kind of report card for each school. So it's really great to promote and also can help connect schools together that, don't necessarily haven't started in the farm to school world, but want to. And we can see the schools that have, had that experience. So
I love that. And I also want you to talk a little bit, feedourfuture.org is the landing page. On that landing page, there's stuff for families and parents. There's stuff for farmers. There's stuff for obviously school nutrition professionals. Talk to us a little bit about how you've seen those tools, everything from stickers and swag to signing up for those Totally Tasty events that are really a supported tri-day, Feed Our Future coming in and helping schools provide opportunities to taste, but then also the data you get back, right?
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about the website and some of the ways schools might engage to learn more and gain more resources for next year.
Yeah, so we do have, a ton of different resources on our site. We have an entire Harvest of the Month hub so that if you want to celebrate any of our Harvest of the Month items, you can do that. We have different resources like word searches and coloring sheets. And then we also have really fun flyers for local growers in our area that are serving schools. We also have our Harvest of the Month kits that are available as well that a lot of schools like to utilize during taste tests. So that comes with a large poster and stickers and other fun promotional items that schools can order. and utilized during these events and outside of these events. These are meant to be used all year round.
Trading cards.
Yeah.
Right?
Our trading cards. Yes, that's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah. We have really fun grower storytelling toolkits. So within that kit, you get like a huge 22 by 28 poster. So real fun. You can put it on, cafeteria walls or whatever. And also some trading cards that come with the kit. So the trading card has the grower, and then on the back, there's a bunch of cool statistics about the grower. So it's a fun way for students to trade them like baseball cards or Pokemon cards or whatever you want to.
Yeah, and get to really, we say grow it, know it. Exposure and education. It's not just about feeding the kids. It's about making the cafeteria an extension of the classroom. Right. And part of the work in Farm to School, I think the why behind it is kids really have these aha moments, like specifically kids that may come from underserved communities that, I know the focus has shifted for some of our BIPOC and low income communities. They don't get these opportunities sometimes at home with their parents. And so part of the making the cafeteria an extension of the classroom and all of these resources in our hopes, I think collectively between Pasonic and Feed Our Future is to really get the education into the hands of the kids.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite tasty try days and also just events with parents around Farm to School have been when the kids drag the parents up and say, try this, we have this at school.
Yeah.
And so they're really moving their own family's knowledge and needle to really hope and desire to plant the seed, pun intended, of eating more local, growing foods, having gardens. We didn't even touch on that. Talk a little bit about the school garden opportunities that happen through Feed Our Future and partnership in some ways with Spice Acres.
Yeah, so actually we have just released our Farm to Early Care education programming. So we can work with preschools to implement Harvest of the Month programs and even school garden projects. So that's a new and exciting piece of the work that Feed Our Future has just started. So Spice Field Kitchen, Steve is also a part of our leadership council. So it's really just a great opportunity to get kids' hands in soil and get them, learning in a more tactile way about the food that they eat and the food that they grow. And going back to the taste tests and, students being excited about the food that they eat, I'll go around and ask students, have you tried this tomato or whatever it is? And a lot of times, more times than I would have thought, kids are like, yeah, like my parents, like we grow these at home and we just started doing this. And it's like, really, really crazy to see. And it's awesome because it's working and, kids are bringing this excitement home and wanting to start it at home.
Love that.
And and even, the kids that are like, I don't know if I want to try this tomato. We have on the other end of things like, I don't know if I want to try this tomato. I've never tried it. And, they end up trying it and loving it. And it's just like, I love it. Yeah. I love seeing it.
Very rewarding work.
Yeah.
Very rewarding work. All right. So we like to end things on a fun note. When you were in school, what was your favorite school lunch to eat?
Okay, so I packed my lunch a lot. Okay.
The P word again.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. But I will say I did always like the pizza days.
Okay.
And I've had this, the Dogo's scratch-made cheese pizza is the best. Like if I had that, if I was going through school now and we had that every day, I would probably buy that every single day. My parents would be.
So I might call you out and say that is a very good answer because it's a local dough and it's local flour.
I had to,
But I love it. I love because it truly is. My daughter is one of her favorite lunches as well as the homemade pizza at her school district that we work in partnership. So not only growing local produce, but growing local partnerships with community members, female-led business. Megan from Dogo's and her team using local Stutzman Farm whole grain flour. This work has been really inspirational together. And I really appreciate your time today. Appreciate all that you do for the work on the team at Feed Our Future and for the schools that we all impassion with this project of getting wholesome foods in front of students and really making these connections. So we thank you for your time and attendance today. We thank all of you for listening, and we hope that you take some hope into the future for school food and all things local. We are going to continue to be warriors of all things funding and knowledge and turnkey opportunities for you to be successful in using local foods in your schools. Thank you for watching today.
Thanks, you. Thanks for having me.